Good morning, everybody. Happy November 2nd, 2 days after Halloween. Hope you've, I don't know, hope you've eaten all the good stuff and you're down to the dregs and you decided I'm not going to eat any more candy and put it away. It is Thursday, November 2nd. It is day 617 of the 3-day military operation in Ukraine. I can safely say now, I think we've got enough empirical evidence that this has been an epic failure for the Russians. I'm going to go over the losses, the epic losses of the Russians over the last 24 hours. And then we're going to basically cover off a couple of different news items that I thought would be interesting to you, some video clips of some combat losses, and honoring a hero, Da Vinci, whose birthday would have been today. So to get right into it, I had previously said, and I'm happy to be wrong in a way, I had previously said that I felt that the Russian assault around Avdiivka and the Eastern Front had basically culminated and they were kind of tapping out, it seemed like, because we had a dramatic drop-off in the loss of men and equipment from one day to the next. And it kind of held for a little bit where things were a little bit lower. And then so you think to yourself, okay, so somebody in the ridiculously inept Russian chain of command said, okay, I can't justify this anymore. They're not sending me any more equipment, or they won't send me any more equipment. I've just lost everything, sort of thing. And we'll just basically dig in, hold some trenches, wait for the spring, and hopefully a miracle. No. So Avdiivka is not the only front, by the way. There are active hot zones, obviously, up and down the entire front. It's almost insulting to somebody who's, holding the line in the Kharkiv Oblast or the Dnipro River or anywhere in between, and to say that everything's going on in Avdiivka. Avdiivka is just basically at a higher proportional loss rate for the Russians than any other area on the front line, as far as we can tell. And the reports, there have been reports from both the Russian and the Ukrainian side that more and more reserves, conscripts, military equipment, etc., are being pulled from other areas and basically thrown into the Avdiivka front. And I strongly believe that the reason why is that the fearless leader, Darth Putler, basically said that he wanted Avdiivka as a captured trophy on his mantle prior to his election to his next term as the president of Russia in March. So I think he's basically given them marching orders and said, "Get me that city. It's going to be, something I'm going to tout as a Russian victory, just like Bakhmut, which probably cost between 50 and 80,000 lives." So the ego, the hubris, etc., of this man and what he's willing to sacrifice and do for what he believes to be positive headlines, when anybody who does 2 seconds worth of research realizes that these are clearly Pyrrhic victories, and a Pyrrhic victory is basically like a victory with a loss that far and away exceeds any tangible results from that victory. It's basically like sacrificing 100 men to rescue 10. That's a Pyrrhic victory. So that's maybe not the best example, but you understand what I mean. Anyways, so to go over the losses really quick, 930 men. 930 men is huge. Again, it was tail. There was a couple of weeks there where it was like, 800 to 1300, and you figured that that was the kind of like the culmination, and then boom, it dropped down to 500 and something, I believe. And I thought that was like them basically tapping out. Well, now we've crept back up again, and we're at 930 men on a Thursday. 18 tanks is massive. So a lot of these numbers just become numbers. But the war is 617 days old, and the Russians have lost 5,241 tanks. So they're losing just shy of 9 tanks per day. If my math is correct, that's about 8.75 tanks per day that they're losing. Don't quote me on that, but I think I'm close. So if they're losing around 8.75 tanks per day, or call it 9 tanks per day, then when a day comes along and they've lost 18 tanks, that's basically double their average throughout the war. So that's big. 43 armored personnel carriers is huge. It's not the 91. We all know the record day, but 43 is huge. 42 artillery systems is astoundingly huge. That is massive. As I've said, most countries don't have 42 artillery systems in their arsenal that are active. Russians lose these on a day ending in Y. They're just, and again, I keep saying this can range anywhere from mortar systems all the way up to the best, SPGs, self-propelled guns. But what we're seeing is a lot of these are actually good high-end artillery systems. It's not like the Ukrainians destroyed 21 small mortar systems, medium mortar systems, and 21 howitzers. These are SPGs, these are Mistas, these are some of the higher end systems that the Russians have out there. They're being destroyed with the use of drones, FPV drones, ISR, and counter battery radar, the availability of HIMARS to hit something within a minute to 2 minutes of picking up the incoming shell. They've got a HIMARS rocket going back out towards it. So being on an artillery system in Russia is a death sentence. And typical Russian artillery is under 24 kilometers distance, well under, with banana barrel, which is basically like overheating barrels that start to sag, bad artillery, bad ammunition, etc. They've moved a lot of their artillery closer and closer to the front line. So it's easier and easier to hit with FPV drones on their own, just hunter-killer FPV drones. 4 MLRS systems. One of them is a TOS. I'm going to show you. It's fantastic. MLRSs, again, they are very, very high-end. There's 850 of them have been destroyed in the war, so just over 1.1, 1.2 a day. So when you lose 4 MLRS, that's 3 to 4 times the typical average. 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems. Those are, I believe, are portions of S-400s. 1 aircraft, and I apologize, I did not take a deep dive to find out what it was. Statistically speaking, it was probably an Su-25 or an Su-27, because they're just losing those like candy. 20 UAVs, which is huge. I also didn't do a deep dive into that one. I'm assuming that typically spikes up when the Russians fire a whole bunch of Shaheeds and cruise missiles at the Ukrainian infrastructure, and 2 cruise missiles to kind of back that up. A lot of days the cruise missiles are 0. Lately, on average, they've averaged around 3 per day, but a lot of those were in those massive, like 100, 110 cruise missile days, right? So they kind of jacked the numbers up on that. So nowadays, if you see more than 1 cruise missile, more than 2 cruise missiles in a day, that's a busy day, and they're shot down. And again, I will say that the UAVs and the cruise missiles, while it's great that they're shot down, unless it's, first of all, it's almost never 100% kill rate. Sometimes it is, but so some made it through, which sucks. But each one of these UAVs, if that's a Shaheed, for example, weighing, I don't know, 200 pounds, whatever the hell they weigh, you shoot them down, unless you shoot them down over open water. You're going to be shooting them down over cities, towns, roads, that sort of thing. That's 200 pounds plus the interceptor missile falling out of the sky onto something. And sometimes it does some damage, sometimes it hurts and kills people. So while these are 22 successful strikes, it's also 22 potential injuries or impacts or whatever on the Ukrainian side of things. So anyways, so there's your losses. I truly wish this war would end, but at the same time, if it's going to continue on, I truly hope these losses continue on, because the Ukrainians are the tip of the spear. We're holding the spear for them. They're the tip of the spear, and they are taking these pieces off of the game board for the foreseeable future. Russia will not be able to replace these. I guarantee it. They're not going to be invading Poland or the Baltic states or Moldova or anything else in the future, because Ukrainian is wiping out their capacity to even defend themselves now. Slava Ukraini. Sorry, I had to say that. The Ministry of Defense for the UK has basically said that the Russia has lost 4 long-range surface-to-air missile launchers. Wow, English pulled a Ronnie Fit there. Now basically when these SAM systems are taken out, so SAM is kind of like a catch-all term, right? So it can be anything from an S-200, 300, 400, a book, whatever. So first of all, the good news is, yes, the Russians are getting their asses handed to them on the air defense side of things. Their air defense systems need air defense systems because they're losing them so commonly, so quickly, so often, in Crimea, in Luhansk, anywhere. Now, the one thing that I wanted to say is that when you see that, so it says Russia has likely lost at least 4 long-range surface-to-air missile launchers. Launchers is the word to key in on, right? To Ukrainian strikes over the last week. On October 26, 2023, Russia media reported that 3 Russian SA-21 launchers had been destroyed in the Luhansk region. Ukrainian sources reported additional Russian air defense losses in Crimea. So you'll see if you basically Google like Russia loses 4 surface-to-air missile systems, or you go to Twitter or whatever, you'll come across somebody, some tweets and some posts and whatever that will say each one of those is worth $500 to $600 million. No, that's not the case. The S-400 system, a complete S-400 system, with the launcher, the radar mast, the radar vehicle, I forget the name of the radar vehicle, the command vehicle, etc. You put all that together, that complete system on its own is worth roughly $500 to $600 million US. However, when we say that a launcher was taken out, that does not mean that the radar was taken out, the communications mast was taken out, the command vehicle was taken out, etc. That doesn't mean the complete SAM system was wiped out. So it could literally just be one launcher, right? Which is still, taking a launcher off the battlefield is great. Taking off the 4 missiles that are typically in one of those launchers is great. So if they did take out 4 launchers, and if those 4 pods, each one of them had 4 pods, and each one of those pods had a missile in it, that's 16 S-400, potentially S-300, S-400 missiles that are taken off the battlefield. But you can't attribute this particular article to a complete wipeout of 4 systems. It's just launchers. And yes, if you drop in an ATACMS or a HIMARS cluster or tungsten type missile, and it takes out a launcher, for example, and if that launcher was relatively close to let's say the command vehicle, then yes, you could have done some damage to the other vehicles that are in the general area. You could have taken out some personnel, some ammunition that was not, already loaded up, etc. But I just wanted to basically point that out. So the good news is the surface-to-air missile systems of the Russians continue to be wiped out. But just don't believe the hype when you hear some people say that it was 4 S-400s. It was 4 launchers. Rumor had it that there was 5 in total in Crimea, 5 S-400s that basically were watching kind of the entire Crimean Peninsula. And by my count, 4 S-400s systems have either been fully or partially wiped out. That's not to say they can't move others in, they can't use, they can't repair them, that sort of thing. But when your top of the line Rolls-Royce air defense system is basically getting hit on a regular basis, and the Russians aren't even making credible claims that they're shooting down anything that's going after these S-400s, it's pretty impressive. And trust me that Ukraine is playing the long game. They are conditioning the battlefield. So I promised you a toss hit. Oh, dear Lord, Jesus. So the toss is the flamethrower. It's got crappy range. It's got thermobaric missiles. It's a nightmare when the missiles hit Ukrainian troops. So taking these out is amazing. They're extremely explosive when they've got their full load of missiles on top. A small FPV drone can hit those missiles and basically make it look like a nuclear explosion. So here's your toss system right there. I believe it's got at least a few of the missiles in its bay, in its pod, ready to go. And Jaga. Look at, I'm sorry, I need to show you this. So this is all of them going off at once. Basically, these are air bursts. They suck out the oxygen. They collapse your lungs, your ears, everything. But look at that. Like, if you didn't know any better, you'd say a nuke went off. Like, that's what happens when a toss system gets hit by $1,000 drone or less. And it's gone. You can imagine what each one of those little missiles, I think it's 12 on the toss. Anyways, one more time. Boom. Anyways, just it's very, very good to see those taken out. Special Kherson Cat, if you want to follow somebody, she's great. I believe it's a she. Just tons and tons of video and first person information and clips and pictures and that sort of thing. So this morning, Russians made attempts to attack the Volgodar front. It is said that at least 10 pieces of Russian equipment were destroyed. Photos by soldiers of the 72nd Brigade of Ukraine. So this is nothing too exciting, but you can see some Russian equipment sprinkled throughout the battlefield here. I'm doing another daytime assault with no air cover. It's awesome. It looks to be potentially it's a HIMARS. I'm not sure. No, it could be an Excalibur. The Excalibur leaves that gray smoke. But anyways, there's a strike on that one that we just showed you. I don't know. Is that a BTR with a cope cage? It's really tough to tell. The video is really potatoey. So this is a video on a screen and then the video is taken again on a phone of that screen. So it's transposed twice, and there is some taken out BMPs, I believe. It's so hard to tell. But anyways, so they lost 10 pieces of equipment in the Volgodar region. Here is a nice little video montage of the 14th Brigade of Ukraine repels Russian attacks in the Kupiansk front. And I believe this check battery light or whatever comes on, this message, every time they drop a bomb, I think. Could you watch? It comes on again as they drop the bomb and then it goes away. So I think that's part of how they've rigged it up. Anyways. And look, just this equipment. There's a turret toss that already happened, right? It's just a shooting gallery always. So this isn't even. This flew in from this direction. So somewhere over here is probably a T-72, right? So it's had its turret blown off, and there's the remnants, right? So it's sitting there. And then these two decide, you know what? We're going to pull up and we're going to park right beside where that turret used to be, or where that tank used to be. And we're going to get struck by drones. And then on top of that, we're going to park around anti-tank mines all over the place. That's what those are. I have no idea what they're doing here, but they can't drive. If those things, that one doesn't look like it's got a fuse in it. I don't know about the other ones. There's another anti-tank mine there. You just look at this picture. This is riddled with anti-tank mines. And these two dingbats decided that they were just going to pull in here and park. Maybe they got detracked, but I don't see the tracks coming off of them. And these are not tanks. These are, I don't believe they are. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why you would do that. Why are you going to pull up and... But that does look like that's the 30 mil on the BTR2. I suck at that. Anyways, here we go. BMP2. BMP2. That's the same. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that's the same too from a different angle. There's the turret. There's the tank that lost the turret. Boom, like that. Oops. And there's another one right beside it as well. Something else is there. Seems like a smart place to stop. I'm totally gonna get copyrighted for that freaking techno music. It looked like an anti-personnel mine, potentially, or an FPV drone. Those are mortars. That was a rapid fire. That was a, oh, I can't remember the name of it. I think that was a rapid fire mortar. Because they just landed in succession. Something blurry. Should have stayed home. Anyways. War sucks. So the strike on Russian command and staff just ruined it. Staff vehicle in Bakhmut direction. So this is basically a command vehicle. Come on. Again, don't know if it is currently staffed at the time, but it's hidden in between a couple of buildings. So this is basically where your NCOs or commanders, generals, that sort of thing would get close to the front line and deliver orders from it. And jugga. And again, we're just spoiled by the Ukrainian artillery. Where did that happen? Well, I think you all pretty much know where Bakhmut is. So here's the Bakhmut area, and there's where that command and control vehicle was struck. So well behind the front lines, which is great. Even if the commanders weren't in it, it's one less vehicle they can use. Okay, so this is horrible, and I'm not going to show you the full video. This is the type of people that Ukrainians are fighting against. The Russians, for sport, for fun, have now started attaching live mice to the front of FPV drones. That is a live mouse, and it's on its way out to crash into, Ukrainian tank or whatever. That is disgusting. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's disgusting. So karma, you want to do that with FPV drones. Here's what happens when an FPV drone missed a Russian soldier and sat on the side of the road, and that Russian soldier decided to FAFO, as we say. Watch this gentleman right here. So the FPV drone is coming in, misses him, crashes into the ground. He sees it crash into the ground. He leans over and says, hey, maybe I'll pick that up. F around and find out. Oops, I didn't know that was coming up. Sorry about that. Not safe for work. Damn it. One of the Safe Skies initiatives is so ahead of another harsh winter, our ambassador, history professor Timothy Schneider is asking for help in fundraising a system that will detect both kamikaze drones and cruise missiles with 100% accuracy.
Hey, this is Tim Snyder. I'm asking for your help to create safe skies over Ukraine. Last winter, as you'll know, Russia sent hundreds of kamikaze drones and cruise missiles over Ukraine, trying to deny Ukrainian civilians access to water, to heat, to power, killing Ukrainians. This has to be stopped, and it can be stopped. When I visited Ukraine the last time this summer, I was able to visit some of the installations of Safe Skies, an early detection system that allows Ukrainians to find and then destroy Russian kamikaze drones and cruise missiles. Last year, working together, we were able to help Ukraine establish this system and to protect the city of Kyiv. Now it's time to extend this system all throughout the country to create safe skies over Ukraine. Please join me. Together we can do
this. So if you're able to donate anything towards Safe Skies or any other initiative that you find it's kind of something that interests you, visit u24.gov.ua, and they've got just an awesome set of charities and focuses that you can contribute your funds to. So please consider it. One of the last things I wanted to cover off is today would have been Dimitro's birthday, call sign Da Vinci. You may, if you've been following the Ukraine war for more than a minute, you've probably heard of the Da Vinci Wolves. Hero of Ukraine, a man who gave his life for the independence of his homeland. Rest in peace, Dimitro. So a little bit more about him, in case, again, you may not know about the Da Vinci Wolves, or at least where the name Da Vinci came from. It was basically his call sign. So who was Da Vinci, legendary young commander killed near Bakhmut? It's another one of those losses. A young, bright Ukrainian who had a long life to live. Somebody who many perceived as immortal because of the country's future was hard to imagine without their dedication and patriotism. Somebody for whom thousands, both friends and strangers, would gather in central Kyiv to say the final goodbye. This time, it was 27-year-old Dmitro Kotsibailo, known by his call sign Da Vinci. He was one of the youngest commanders in Ukrainian history, a legendary soldier, a hero of Ukraine, killed by Russians near Bakhmut in Donetsk Oblast on March 7th. Russian President Vladimir Putin's horde is taking our most beautiful sons and daughters, said a priest during the memorial service at St. Michael's Golden Domed Monastery on March 10th, with hundreds of people clustered inside around Kotsubailo's body and his family. Dmitro showed through his example how to love and defend your country, the priest went on. Kotsubailo was the commander of the 1st Mechanized Battalion, Da Vinci Wolves. He died with a weapon in his hands, going into the battle first. his battalion wrote on their official Telegram channel. He lived and died like a hero, the post said. Kosovayo, commander of the 1st Motorized Battalion Da Vinci Wolves, speaks on the phone during in Donetsk Oblast in August of 2022. That's him right there. He was born in Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast in western Ukraine. He was an active participant in the Euromaidan Revolution, also known as the Revolution of Dignity in 2013-2014, when Ukrainians took the streets and toppled pro-Russian then President Viktor Yanukovych. When shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine's Donbass and annexed Crimean Peninsula, Kosovayo took up arms. He was wounded by a Russian tank shell in a battle of Donetsk Oblast that same year, but came back to the front, having recovered just 3 months later. Eastern Ukraine truly was his home, Melania Podolyak, a Ukrainian activist, said. And Seri Petula Foundation project coordinator who knew Kosovayo told the Kyiv Independent. She said Kosovayo barely ever left the front lines in the 9 years of Russia's ongoing war. 9 years. He lived there. He lived and breathed it. People flocked to him. He became almost a superhero, which was why, the Da Vinci Wolves were named after him. But it wasn't ego. The young soldier was part of the 1st Assault Company with the 5th Battalion of the Ukrainian Volunteer Corps, the DUK, a military wing of the Right Sector, a Ukrainian nationalist movement. For years, the UK were autonomous volunteer formations, independent from the Ukrainian military, taking part in some of the toughest battles. So they weren't officially part of the military. They formed themselves up, they armed themselves, they trained themselves, and they fought. In 2016, Kosovayo, who was only 21 at the time, became commander. That is insane. 21 and commander shouldn't happen in the same sentence. He earned it. This wasn't because they had nobody else. Became the first commander of the 1st Assault Company, which operated under the name Da Vinci Wolves ever since. Dmitro Da Vinci Kosovayo, commander of the 1st Motorized Battalion Da Vinci Wolves, looks over the shoulder of an aerial reconnaissance drone operator in Kherson Oblast. That's what we're seeing right there. He was a soldier. Back then, he was a year younger than me, yet he had the authority and always went into battle himself. A 28-year-old soldier, Pavlo, who goes by nom de guerre Belarusian, became, because of his origins, told the Kyiv Independent. He asked to conceal his full name, citing fear for security for his family, who are still back in dictator-ruled Belarus. After migrating to Ukraine in 2017, Pavlo spent 2 months fighting with the Da Vinci Wolves in Donbass before joining the Azov Regiment. Pavlo said that Kosovayo never sent his soldiers into battle alone while sitting out, only sending to the front lines those who were prepared. So if you weren't trained, you didn't go. If a battle had to be fought, he would go with his men. What surprised me was every single one of Da Vinci's positions were fully equipped for full-scale battle. They were all weapons imaginable, Pavlo said, comparing the conditions of some of the official units in the Ukrainian army that were undersupplied at the time. Every person who came to Da Vinci was given everything they needed to work comfortably, from bulletproof vests and helmets to personal hygiene products. Da Vinci always said that you have to prepare for the worst. In December of 2021, Vladimir Zelensky presented Kosovayo with the nation's highest award, the Golden Star Order, as well as the Hero of Ukraine. Kosovayo became the youngest commander to receive the title, as well as the first volunteer fighter in the history of Ukraine to be awarded while still alive. Kosovayo, commander of the 1st Motor... I'm not going to read that. He was never prideful, despite being a remarkable commander at such a young age. He gave himself to the war, defending Ukraine, Podolyak said. In 2022, Most DUK battalions, along with Kotsubaya's unit, were fully integrated into the armed forces of the Ukraine. Da Vinci Wolves grew to form a battalion, mobilizing hundreds of new people. The battalion specializes in artillery and offensive operations, according to Ukrainian Toronto Television's interview with Alina Mikhailova, Da Vinci Wolves paramedic and a deputy of the Kyiv City Council, who was also Kotsubaya's partner. Under Kotsubaya's command, Da Vinci Wolves took part in Ukraine's triumphant counteroffensive in Kharkiv Oblast in September, fighting to liberate Balaklia and Kupiansk, amongst other towns. And artillery, there was never anything more important for him than his personnel. They were his family. The execution of combat tasks wasn't as prioritized as the saving of human life, the lives of his men. Russians wouldn't know that if it hit him. 5 months into the all-out war, Ukraine's Forbes put Kotsubaya on their 30 under 30 Faces of the Future list, along with many other famous young soldiers and paramedics. So top 30 under 30. That's him with his girlfriend sitting on a tank. The memorial service at St. Michael's Monastery, which was attended by Zelensky and Finland's Prime Minister, Sanna Marin, was followed by a march to Kyiv's Independence Square. Thousands of people walked through the blocked roads, chanting glory to Ukraine and glory to Da Vinci. God, I suck at this. Zelensky presented Kotsubaya's mother with the Cross of Combat Merit, which was posthumously awarded to her son, according to the president's Telegram channel. Everyone had a chance to say goodbye to Kotsubaya in the open coffin after respects were paid by top Ukrainian officials, including Commander-in-Chief for the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny, Military Intelligence Chief Kirill Budanov, and Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov. At every stage of his life, he prepared himself as a hero. So, happy birthday. Happy belated posthumous birthday. Anyways, that's it. We'll leave you with something happy. I suck. Sorry for getting mushed up. It really sucked today. And here is... Apparently there's a little bit of a dance craze. It's the Hopak Challenge. A new TikTok trend. People from all over the world are dancing the traditional Ukrainian dance, the Hopak. We love it. So, enjoy.
Ти казала понеділок, підем разом по барвінок. Я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела. Ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела. Ти ж мене молодого з умарою звела. Ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела. Ти ж мене молодого з умарою звела. Ти казала у вівторок, поцілуєш разів 40. Я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела.
There you go. Again, sorry. I'm not a very good reporter or whatever, newspaster honor when I get choked up like that. But anyways, tell someone you love them. Slava Ukraini. Harm Slava.